So distributive property, we're focusing just on this property alone because there's a little bit more to it and how it works. And so we're going to spend some more time on distributive by itself instead of grouping like how we did the other four together. This one gets like a whole day on its own. And we're going to do more practice with it tomorrow. So before we get started, let's go ahead and define what distributive property is. Distributive property is multiplying a sum or difference by a number is the same as multiplying each number in the sum or difference by the number and adding or subtracting the product. So that's a lot of words and it probably sounds really confusing. So we're going to look at several examples at what this actually looks like. So just like in the review that we just did with the card sorting, you saw letters like A and B, okay? That just means that you can plug in any number to those letters. Those letters are called variables. They vary. So you can plug in a 1 everywhere where you see a letter A. You could plug in a number 2 everywhere you see a letter B, and you could plug in a 3 everywhere you see a letter C. Does it have to be those numbers? No. But if you see an A has to be the same number that you used in another A in that particular problem. Does that make sense? Okay, so a variable can vary. The numbers can be different for what you plug in for those letters. All right, so our formulas. That's a word that you're going to hear a lot more of as we get more into our measurement unit coming up in a few weeks. Formulas are always going to involve letters, a variable, because you can plug in different numbers for that variable. So the first one that we see says A times B minus C, which is really the same thing as doing A times B. It's like taking this and multiplying it times B, and then subtracting the A times the C. So over here in this parenthesis, I'm going to put A times C. I said it right and I wrote it wrong. Okay, so I'm breaking up what I'm doing. So distributive property is taking this outside number and since it's multiplying, I'm multiplying it times the B, and then I'm also taking this same number and I'm multiplying it times the C, and then I'm going to subtract what both of those answers give me. Does that make sense? Okay, the same thing works for addition. So I would do the same thing. I would take the A times the B, but instead of subtracting, I would add that to A times the C. So now I have real numbers. Okay, that's what my formula looks like. But now I'm going to practice using real numbers. So it says solve 46 times 9 using addition. Okay, we know how to solve 46 times 9 normal, but we're going to break it up and use distributive property. So we're going to be using like partial products essentially to do this. Okay, so 46 is basically the same as 40 plus 6. Everybody with me on that? You have 4 10s, which makes 40, and then 6 1s, which makes 6. This goes back to like our place value unit at the very beginning of the year. Okay, so what this means is I have 40 plus 6 times 9. This is really good to help you with mental math too. So if you're trying to do mental math, you can break up your numbers like this into partial products and then combine them. So I'm going to distribute. That's where the word distributive comes from. The base or the root word in distributive is distribute. What do you do when you distribute something?
Give something out.
You give something out. So what am I giving out in this problem?
Numbers.
The 9. In this particular problem, I'm giving out the 9 to different parts of my problem. So I'm going to distribute the 9 to the 40 and also the 6. Very good. So when I actually start solving this, I'm going to multiply. Down here, I'm going to do 40 times 9. And I'm also going to do 6 times 9. So I know that 4 times 9 is 36. Tack that 0 on at the end, that makes it 360. I know 6 times 9 is 54. So those are my two partial products. I'm going to now combine them. So I'm going to do 360 plus 54, and I end up with 414. Okay, did y'all follow? Did y'all stay with me on that? Okay, I'm breaking apart my number, and I'm distributing that 9 to the 40 and to the 6 and recombining again, okay? All right, another way is by using subtraction. So if I have 46 times 9, what I could do, 46 is the same as 50 minus 4. Okay, that's how I can get 46. And 50 is easy because it's a multiple of 10. This isn't necessarily what I would want to do if I was solving a multiplication problem. But if you're given a problem like this, we're going to practice the distributive action. Okay, so we're just setting up our problem. You are not going to be expected to set up a problem like this right now. Okay, so 46 is the same as 50 minus 4. I'm using 50 because it's easy. It's a multiple of 10. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to plug in 50 minus 4 times 9. Now the action for the distribution of the 9 is the same as it was before. So I'm going to take my 9. I'm going to multiply it. Notice how this time, do you remember in the beginning, if y'all notice, it was up here in the front, and I multiplied it this way and then this way. But notice here that I went this way and this way. Does it matter where the times 9 is?
No.
What matters is that we are focusing on what the operation says to do. Okay? It can be in the front, it can be in the back. So then I'm going to go on and I'm going to multiply 50 times 9 and 4 times 9. So this is 450. This is 36. I subtract 450 minus 36. And I end up with 414.
Oh, just the same answer as...
Yes. It's the same thing. The most important thing to remember when you are using distributive property, and we're going to do a couple more examples here in just a second. I'm going to give you a problem. We're going to actually break it up and distribute it. But the most important thing to remember is you've got to distribute the outside number first to both of the inside numbers, okay, before you do the adding or the subtracting. All right, so let's look at a couple more problems. So if I were to have, let me see. Gotta make myself some space. How much space do y'all don't have a ton. Y'all got a little bit over here in this white space. See down here? Okay, so we're gonna copy down 8. Here, I'm gonna draw myself a little section. So 8 times I'm thinking, oh, I'm gonna do 46 plus 4. That's a big number. Let's change it to just 6 plus 4.
Oh, man. Yeah, me too.
Okay, so we'll just do 8 times 6 plus 4. All right, so if this is my problem and I say use the distributive property to solve this problem, I don't want you to use order of operations. I don't want you doing 6 plus 4 first, because I'm telling you, use the distributive property. What does that mean? Using the distributive property means I need to distribute the 8 and multiply it by the 6 first, which gives me 48. And I'm going to add that to what is 8 times 4?
32.
32. Okay, whatever I draw, you draw. If I have those arrows, you have the arrows. That way you understand how it's being distributed. So then I'm going to add those two partial products together, and my final answer is
80.
80.
Yes. And this is going to be.
Okay, so you would. Hannah said, but you're going to get the same answer if you use order of operations. Yes, but you have to understand distributive property. Guys, this is the beginning of algebra. So you've got to understand, you're not doing a ton with it right now, but you have to understand how it works, because once you start involving variables and you're solving for variables, you have to understand how the distribution property works, okay? So that's why we're practicing with it now, but we don't have to do a ton with it at this point.
What is algebra?
All right, let's do one more example. Let's do one this time that looks like this. We're going to do 5 and then a parenthesis. Notice how I didn't put any symbol there. I just put a parenthesis. This is going to be 5 parenthesis 12 minus 9. Okay, first thing I want to do, since I'm using distributive property, is I'm going to distribute the 5 to the 12, but there's no operation symbol, so what do I do? Multiply. Anytime there's not an operation symbol, it is multiplication. If your number is right next to a letter, or if it is right next to a parenthesis with a number inside of it, it means multiply. So 5 times 12 is 60. Then I'm going to distribute the 5 to the 9. 5 times 9 is 45. And the last thing I do is subtract 60 minus 45, which is 15. Did y'all feel okay?
I mean, yeah.
You're going to, aren't you? I know
We
you
have
are.
11 minutes, so yeah.
Okay. We don't have that much time. We get out of here in like 7 minutes. Okay.